We're learning new information about why police were after a man who they fatally shot on Tuesday.
As Eyewitness News reporter Mariah Medina explains, police records reveal a months-long history of domestic violence allegations against Darrell Zemault.
The friends and family of the man say they are not buying it.
When police arrived at the home of Darrell Zemault Tuesday afternoon,
close 175 Willing.
Newly obtained records showed the deadly encounter with officers
They got one down.
was the culmination of a series of reports of domestic violence and allegations Zemault had bitten and punched officers just months earlier.
We have one suspect down. We need EMS. All the officers are okay.
The reports revealing a protracted history of domestic violence starting in October of 2019, where one report says Zemault called and texted his ex-girlfriend 80 times a day, even after she changed her number. In February, officers were again called to the victim's home after she and Zemault got into an argument. The woman told officers the harassing text messages had continued, with Zemault telling her at one point, quote, "I'll kill you." 2 months later, the woman called police saying Zemault had taken her oil cap and dipstick from her car with the intention of disabling it. And 2 months after that, in June, Zemault is alleged to have shown up at the woman's home uninvited as she backed out of her driveway. She says Zemault pulled off her glasses from her face after she said they had nothing to talk about. The most violent domestic incident on record occurred July 3rd, when the victim called police and said Zemault again showed up at her home uninvited and tried dragging her into his car during an argument over a new person whom he thought she was dating. The report says Zemault told the woman, quote, "I am going to kill you tonight." The report says he stopped after the commotion caught the attention of neighbors, but took the woman's purse before driving off. Celeste Brown describes Zemault as a second father. She expressed skepticism toward the allegations, pointing to Zemault's relationship with his late wife.
And never in that 30 years of marriage was there ever a violent incident, was there ever even a verbally or emotionally abusive situation. And so if he was in love with the love of his life for 30 years, all I have to say is look at that.
She added that the victim also expressed condolences on Facebook. The reports also revealed that the day after that July 3rd incident, police tried to take Zemault into custody on warrants, and reports say he punched and bit officers during the ordeal while kicking in handcuffs, not wanting to go to jail. Now family and local leaders have questions about how Tuesday unfolded, the mayor calling for the release of video once the investigation is concluded. Mariah Medina, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.